mission is to encourage and uplift women to birth their ministry and accomplish their mission. Together, we are the difference in action for positive change. Two humanitarians, Drs. Anita Mckaney and Tomesha D. Walker, are changing the world by giving voice to women around the globe, encouraging authors, marriages, mothers and wives to live out their ministry on mission. Join us Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and spread the word as we reach out our goal of making a difference in the lives of 200,000 women. Welcome to the show.
Well, welcome to Ministry on Mission. We are excited to bring another phenomenal guest to you today. I am excited that you are here with us, and I want to introduce and read the bio of our very special guest. This is Christine Harrell. She is an accomplished professional whose expertise spans with a Master of Arts in Clinical Pastoral Counseling from Ashland Theological Seminary. She established a solid foundation for her remarkable career. Passionate about teaching and inner healing, Christine Harrell founded Zoe Life, which is a ministry that has profoundly impacted numerous lives. She serves as a minister, life coach, pastoral consultant, teacher, preacher, motivator, and author, leveraging her extensive knowledge and experience to facilitate transformative change. Drawing upon a deep understanding of psychological and spiritual principles, Christine Harrell offers compassionate guidance to individuals, navigating a wide range of emotional and relational challenges. Her holistic approach integrates these principles, fostering a healing environment that addresses her clients' fundamental needs. Moreover, Christine Harrell's dedication extends beyond life coaching. She actually serves as a parent coach and facilitates social emotional learning programs for school-age children at La Parade Center for Early Education, making a positive impact within her community. Committed to both personal and professional growth, she continuously seeks opportunities to empower and uplift others. In her personal life, Christine Harrell finds fulfillment as a devoted spouse to Jerry and as a proud parent to 3 adult children, a daughter-in-law, and 6 beloved grandchildren. Her unwavering commitment to her work, combined with her genuine care for others, exemplifies her passion for guiding individuals toward a meaningful and fulfilling life journey. We are so very proud and excited to welcome Christine Harrell. Welcome, Minister, to the show. Welcome. Are you able to hear good? We're excited to have you. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Uh-oh, you're not able to hear me okay. That is not good. Let's see what's going on here. Just want to make sure that I'm able to be heard and that you can hear me as well.
I can hear
You
now.
can now? Oh,
Yep.
okay. Praise God. God works it out. I'm so glad. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Mr. Christine. How are you?
I'm great this evening. How are you?
I am wonderful. I'm wonderful. So we are here with some people in our audience, and we are excited to talk to you about all the things that you're doing. Tell us, first of all, about this transformative work that you do with people all around you. It just sounds like you're a transformer. Like literally, that is what comes to my mind. So let's talk about that. What does transformation mean to you?
Transformation is the inner working of a spiritual enlightenment. So we're body, soul, and spirit. Inner healing and inner transformation is that we line up with the spirit leading, the soul being made whole, and our body beginning to come into alignment with what God has for us purposely, dealing with trauma, dealing with our past, and dealing with how do we relate to people based on the healing journey that we take. And so transformation means biblical transformation is really the sanctification that God does, right? from beginning of our salvation until the end, until we meet him in heaven or in the air. And so part of transformation is allowing the spiritual aspect as a Christian Holy Spirit to take form and take shape to begin to make us more like Christ, right? And begin to heal the wounds of our souls, begin to renew our minds, and then begin to have have behavioral, right? Not behavioral modification, but begin to have and act and walk and sound and talk and love like Jesus. That's pretty much what it is.
Interesting. Well, that's an interesting thought because some people are advocates for the idea that you don't really need to change. You just need to pull out the good inside of you that's already there and begin to walk in that. What would you say about that? Do you think that we all really need that type of transformation, or would you say that we're kind of good on the inside and we just need to let it out?
Let's just talk biblically. I believe that the heart is deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? And so the heart itself is wicked by nature, from sin nature. And that is Christian and non-Christian. And so coming into understanding that, for me, salvation, right, the relationship with God as he reconciles us to himself, is just the beginning of that process. That process has to continue to morph based on how much we know who God is, how much we really begin to understand our purpose and identity in him, and then how much we let go of the old man, which is wrapped into the sin nature, which is wrapped into the pain and trauma and all the experiences that we've had, right, from our childhood up until our adulthood, that hinders us from having, right, holistic, healthy, loving relationships, and hinder us from really knowing who we are so we can really pursue what God has called us to, the ministry of missions, whatever he's called you to do, and
Yes.
hindering woundedness, emotional wounds, trauma hinders us from really knowing who we are, because we base who we are based on what we've been through, right? And so based on the lies we've been told, based on what we've been through from children into adulthood, those lies have to be captured, right, with truth, and have to come into alignment about who God says we are. Otherwise, we'll just kind of exist, if you will.
That's a really good point. You mentioned about being holistic and about how it really starts with your spiritual life. And that is key, what you said, that our hearts are deceitfully wicked. Like, we're born into sin.
Yeah.
This is not something where you're a great person and now you're going to peel the layers back and suddenly be love and sunshine and light to everyone around you. It's going to be the opposite. The more you peel, the more you're going to see how desperately you're in need of the saving grace of Jesus Christ to transform your mortal nature, because by nature, we're not the best people. So I hear that. And when we talk about that holistic transformation, it has to begin in the spiritual sense, right? In what other ways do you talk about transformation?
I talk about transformation too in soul. Soul is mind, will, emotions, personality, volition, right, conditions. And so when we talk about what Jesus saves is our soul, the inner man working of who we are. So holistically, we come into a relationship with Christ. He fills us with his spirit. We're connected. But now I still have this old man in my soul, which wants to be operated, right, by the flesh, which is the outward workings of the body. And so when I'm talking about holistic ministry, I'm talking about dealing with the inner man, the thought life, the emotional part, because the thought life needs to be renewed, but the emotions need to be healed, the wound from our emotions, right? And so those two components basically allow us to make decisions with the right mindset, have relationships based on the right way we love, emotionally connect to people. And so with those two components, it leads us into a deeper connection with God, because now I'm connected to him authentically for who he is, not how I feel, right? Not how I think, not even how I perceive him as father based on relationship I've had with my daddy. And so when we talk about holistic ministry, we're talking, so the spirit leads us. The spirit should lead us, be led by the spirit. The soul submits to the spirit, and the the body likewise begins to submit to the soul to the spirit. And so when you look at that holistically, we're just not flesh and bones, right? But the inner working man, my inner man is my soul. And if I don't have proper soul care for healing, transformation, relationship, fellowship, then I'm not going to be able to assess the Zoe life, the abundant life Christ promises. I will be existing in misery, right? And having really broken relationships, from family relationships to spouse relationships to every part that connects me, right, to God and to body. So the cross is up and down, vertical, me and God, sideways, horizontally is relationships. And so if I can't get the up and down together because my mind has been warped and or skewed by my relationship who God is, right? Even beyond church, I'm talking about a real relationship with God through his son Jesus, then I'm going to have every other thing and thought and emotion warped when it comes to the crossbar to relationships.
Wow, that's powerful. That's really powerful. And you keep mentioning about the woundedness, right? Because that's one thing that we all have in common is we've all been wounded, whether that is spiritually wounded, physically wounded, we all know about that, emotionally, psychologically wounded. And sometimes, and just being as a nurse, my mind goes to things medical. Sometimes those inner wounds are worse than your outer wounds, the ones people can see, right? What would you say about that? I mean, I know that you've met and spoken with people being a pastoral counselor, how that people sometimes carry the inner wounds that are doing more damage to them than an outward wound would.
Well, I use the healing portion. I was talking to my husband earlier about this. Well, one of the reasons the wounds, we don't recognize them because a lot of us have become numb to them. We disassociate, we disconnect from them. And so you have this spectrum where people are numb, not connected, don't know, don't realize I've been wounded, I have trauma, I can't remember. To the other side, which I was, with the super sensitive, overly sensitive, crying, wounded, easily offended, easily hurt part. And so for me, wounds are like nerves. I talk about a little bit about when you have a toothache. The part of the tooth that's hurting you is the nerve, right? But if I don't get the nerve taken care of, or I get conditioned, right? I'm scared of dentists, or I have fear and I won't go to the dentist, then I get accustomed to the pain. Emotions are the same way. If I have emotional trauma and I can't connect the dots, how I feel from what happened to me, I'm numb. And being numb, I can't determine how to heal because I have no clue what has happened to bring this level of pain. And so I always talk about getting to the root of it, just like the dentist would. Get to the root of the tooth to pull it, right? Or to deal with the pain, or give it the needed medicine it needs for infection. And that's when we get into inner healing. The pain itself sits and harbors and festers, right? We can push it down and repress it as long as we can, but eventually, like the garbage, if you don't take it out, it starts to stink. Minds start to stink. Relationships start to stink. Then you see everything around you, and then we go back into a place where we become victims because now it's everybody else's fault. Emotional wounds are so embedded and so deep. But here's the caveat. The first thing happens is we have core beliefs, and what I really believe about myself. This is stuff we don't tell everybody. We don't go around saying, "Oh, I'm deeply not enough." Okay, those are the core things from our experience. The experiences come, right, and then we start think, we feel, we behave, right, or we act. The problem is that most times we want behavior modification without going to the core root of what I believe about me, what I believe about God, and what I believe. And that place in my soul that's been rooted, connected to my heart, it lies dormant. But the Bible talks about everything that comes out of my mouth, right, comes from my heart. So I'm talking. And this is the easiest way to gauge, not judging. You just listen to how people speak. Listen to their conversations, because out of the mouth, the heart speaks. So if my heart is wounded, I can't not fake it but so long, because I'm going to either say something offensive, I'm going to be either angry, so whatever comes from the heart. And so for me, that inner transformation, we hurt. And the problem is we get accustomed to the pain. And so now I no longer hurt because I use all these extra coping mechanisms, dysfunctional, mind you, addictions, mind you, right? And now I won't feel. One of the things that's really, really powerful and is really something for us to think about in ministry, particularly, is that the busyness that we get into is almost an addiction. Because the more busy I can become, the more I can hide and run really what's going on inside of me, right? And so that's where the spirit of rest comes in. God gives us rest. And so I always kind of, just somebody who's even done the work, I pay attention to my busyness. What am I doing? What am I running from? What's going on with me? Because if I find myself idle time, scrolling and doing mindless things, I am running, right? And so pain is a motivating factor, right, to check out.
You said that so very, very well. How sometimes the numbing is what you don't feel, but something's going on. And then by the time you get to pain, it's almost too late because you're addicted to the thing that you've replaced with dealing with the root. Powerful. That's powerful. Okay, so help us out. Help us out, Minister Christie, because everybody has pain. Everybody has hurt. Some people don't even know what's going on. They don't even realize, or once they realize that they have numbed their pain with something else, that they feel like there's no hope. So where do we start? Where do we begin? How would you advise someone who is in this place where they recognize finally something's wrong here? How do I begin and start to deal with that root problem?
I think firstly, honestly, we need to be in relationships. My mirror of accountability and who I am is mirrored in your eyes, my sister. It's mirrored in the relationships. I'm talking about a place of vulnerability and transparency. I mean, just one friend to say, hey, sis, what's going on? You're isolating. What? And so for me, it starts in relation. Before we can even get a person to a counselor or any place else, most times we walk past people hurting. I always ask people, how are you? And most people who ask, how are you? And people say, fine, we walk away. Right?
Always, yeah.
Because we say fine is not a good thing. When someone says fine to me, I'm alert. Because that's usually you're not fine, right? And so for one, trust is important. Begin to trust one person with your pain, who can talk to you, who can listen, who can be an ear, who can say, hey, you off a little bit over here, or you really need to forgive that person, because it doesn't start like when it gets to me. When it gets to me, you're really, really hurting. When it gets to me, somebody have told, most people who are wounded and hurting and in pain, somebody has said, girl, you offended for the wrong reason. Or why are you so angry? What's really going on, right? Or we have pushed so many people away from us, right? For me, that's it. Living in isolation for me is one of the number one ways. I'm not talking about introverts who hate to be around people. I'm talking about isolation. And so, first of all, I would say find you somebody who you can who you're accountable to, who is spiritual.
Okay.
Oh my God, somebody spiritual. They don't have to be super mature, but somebody you can trust to be able to talk to vent, and then be able to pray. That's the first place, right? And the second thing is really going and being in fellowship with other people. And I tell this to people all the time, we do a lot of scrolling. And so now I'm telling people, I'm sending people mental health pieces and what counselors are saying to you and what it means to be numb. And so I YouTube a lot of people who I know will not go to a counselor, will not sit in front of me. I said, maybe you should think about this. Because we have this whole online Facebook chatter, Instagram chatter, right? And I'm like, we're spending a lot of time scrolling. But here's the reality. When you get to a place where you're broken and you're hurt, you need to be able to confide in somebody. The number one reason people suicide is because they're living in isolation and nobody really is connected to them.
Wow.
And most people who suicide have signs, and when they're serious, they won't tell you. Right? My child is depressed. That's a warning,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know a young lady who committed suicide at 13. No mom. She was depressed. So when we talk about being sad, being mad, being upset, some of those places are the beginning stages of I really need to seek help. It's really hard, and we have to get to the ministry. It's really hard to help someone who does not want help.
Mm.
Because oftentimes the helper gets hurt trying to help somebody who needs help, right? Sometimes we have to get to the bottom of our own place. And I don't know where your bottom is. Sometimes we have to get to the bottom. So for me, first is get into a relationship, because it takes a lot to sit in front of somebody. I tell people all the time, you are the most courageous individual if you're in therapy, if you're having sessions with coaches and trying to really do some self-care, really do some help with your mental health. These are the most courageous people I know, because it takes a lot to tell a stranger your pain. And so for me, getting to the root of things, right? And this is why I love women's ministry. I mean, authentic women's ministry, where I can sit in a group with women and be okay not being okay. And so for me, getting to the root of that requires me to pay attention to, one, what has happened to me in my past. Two, what is triggering me, right? And what I'm experiencing, what am I feeling? Is it before me or behind me? Right?
Wow.
Most times emotional pain is triggered and we feel a certain way or have conflict with people or get offended or get hurt. A lot of times it's what's behind me. And because we don't know how to process our pain or understand what triggers are, I believe triggers are the way God taps on your shoulder and say, pay attention. Look,
Yes.
this is going on with you. Look, no, don't go outward, pointing the finger and get angry. I need you to go inward, and I need to tap you on your shoulder and pay attention. And so part of the triggers, paying attention to my pain, paying attention to my anger. What is it? It's the root cause is usually something that is before me. I've learned 10% of what we think is new information. 90% of what we think is pulled from our memory. So my memory is triggered. I get a thought based on the triggering of my memory. If my memories are negative, most of them, then guess what I'm going to be triggered in my thought process. This is why it's so hard to get rid of negative information, because I can't change the experience that I'm in. I can't change the past. But glory be to God, I can change and heal from the wound of the emotion. I can't get rid of anything that's happened, but I can be present in me and see what pain is lurking in my heart. And one, give it to God. And two, do the work. Walk through it, talk through it, cry through it. Have some experience. Learn to sit in pain. It's just so wonderful. But that's when I began to learn me, when I can sit in my pain, not run from it, not get busy from it, but sit in it long enough to say, okay, one of the key things I always say, what is going on with me?
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Oh my gosh.
That is the very first place to start. When I'm angry, when I have any kind of negative emotion, and emotions are not bad or good, they're all the way God's given us to express ourselves, right? But what is going on with me, right? The moment I feel like I'm going to grab the potato chips and the cookies, right? The moment I'm scrolling on Facebook, I'm scrolling on social media, I'm wasting time. I'm so busy. I don't need to waste time. But the moment I check out from my life right now and I pay attention, I have all this busy stuff and nothing's getting done. Or I have all this busy stuff I'm doing and I still don't feel accomplished.
Yes.
That's the trigger, right? Paying attention to what's in front of me, what's in back of me. That's the very first place to start, because we don't really deal with ourselves. We run to serve, we run to help. You know, I got saved And the first thing I did, my mother got killed in car accident, another story. I was 24, had not been in church, was not raised in church. I went to a church grieving, went to the altar, and the pastor said, "What auxiliary do you want to be a part of?" And that still lingers in my mind because we've been taught to do, but not to be.
That is a powerful thought. We are taught to do, but not to be. And we need that space to be. We need that space to sit with ourselves and to sit before God so that that inner transformation can actually happen. So today we're talking about the mission of inward transformation. And for those who are ready to make a change and to sit with themselves and to do the hard soul searching work that you referred to earlier, you have a phenomenal resource available. So not everybody can go to Minister Christine and chit chat with her and maybe her calendar is full, but you do have a book that you can tell us about inward transformation. What is it? How do we get a hold of it? Tell us more about it.
Oh, I am so excited. April, during the pandemic, April 21, I had begun to journal and write books. It's so funny. I write in journals. And so I wrote a book called Aches of the Soul, Jesus Makes Whole. And I'm so excited. What this book is really not meant to be an autobiography. It's really meant to be a resource to understand. So when I speak of aches, for instance, my first chapter is unloved, right? Feeling unloved. So I forget the ache too. Let me do abandonment. Abandonment is the hidden ache, right? So each emotional wound has an ache associated with it. Right. And so every chapter talks about some experiences I've had in my life of emotional wounds, from feeling unloved to grief, to shame, to abandonment, to neglect, all the areas in my life that I was wounded. And what I really wanted to break down for, I wanted to share experientially what those wounds look like, but also to tease out some of the symptoms, right? I do very detailed on shame, what shame is. Shame is not us shame, but shame is the feeling of worthlessness from trauma, right? I do a detail so you walk away understanding that this was my pain. This is what it looks like in your soul. And I pray and ask you to do some self-examination in every chapter. And so I am excited because the book is not, I tell people it's not an autobiography. It talks a lot about my experiences because I'm trying to connect the person reading the book on a deeper level. It is raw. I will tell you, it's emotionally raw. It's vulnerable. It hits you in your face about what the examples are. And so this book I wrote and published, self-published. And it's Aches of the Soul, Jesus Make Home. And the last beautiful chapter is on forgiveness and Jesus Christ. And so I wanted to bring the reader through their pain and give us always to every prescription, right? There's a diagnosis and prognosis. And so I wanted to give the prescription for what healing looks like. And the last chapter is Jesus Christ because he is the ultimate healer. He heals body, mind, soul, spirit. Every part of healing is available to us through Jesus Christ. And that's kind of how I ended the book. I'm excited about this book. And can I be honest? I did not write this book. I didn't write this book to make money. I printed 50 copies and gave away 30. And gave away to shelters, gave away to women to get the book in their hands to help you have a reference. This is what pain looks like, but this is also what healing looks like. I think part of the problem we have with pain, I don't know what it is. I don't have a description for it, right? We know what abuse is. But I don't understand what it feels like, the wound to feel unloved. I don't understand what that abandonment wound is. I don't understand how that abandonment wound keeps me right in bad relationships and in relationships where I can't let them go because I don't want to be abandoned again. And so I am very vulnerable, transparent, and honest in this book, and it really is a healing journey. And so the books, Aches of the Soul, Jesus Makes Whole, I'm selling them myself. You can just reach me at the Zoe Life, ZOE dot LIFEPLC at gmail.com. Basically, that's it. Or any of the social media platforms, and message me and say, hey, I want a book. They're 15, 18 to mail. And my whole desire when I wrote this book, I said, Lord, people need to be made whole.
Yes.
We need to know that Jesus, you are the healer, not just physical. We do a lot of physical talk about he is, but he can make you whole. One of the chapters is on grief. I remember when my mom was killed in a car accident at 19. I remember someone telling me, you are going to grieve and feel bad all your life. I was not a believer. And I said to myself, this level of pain, I refuse to think that I'm going to struggle with this all my life. I can't live in this kind of pain. I said that to myself as an unbeliever. And when I think about when I wrote the chapter on grief, I have had major loss, probably 10 major losses in my life, and family members and people close to me. And when I help people in grief and I understand the stages and I understand the process, we've been told a lie. We think time heals all wounds. And so we don't process. Grief is one of the things that people commit suicide from because it's so many different emotions and it's so intense depending on how close you are to the individual that if I don't sit and process, then I'm in trouble. It took me, and I talk about this in the book, it took me 12 years before I even came into the shock stage of grief with my mother. I was in addiction, sleeping around, drugs, alcohol, any and everything I could do to get out of pain. And so part of my compassion and my passion about inner healing, because I understand what we do in it. It's destructive at its very root. And so particularly for us who have Jesus, we have the remedy. But people who don't know Christ, Christ is the remedy of every malady and every issue and every problem that he has. He is the answer. I was in seminary one day. I'm like, this is so cliche. Jesus is the answer.
Jesus is the answer.
I said, that is the most cliche thing. And then God began to take me through these stages of inner healing. I said, you are more than the answer. You are marvelous. You are wonderful. You are powerful. You are all-knowing. You are the solution to every single malady in the world.
Amen.
And so the book is on sale. I'm excited. I just ordered some more copies. I had a woman. This is so powerful. I had a woman of God. I had a friend of mine say, I met a woman who's doing Bible study. And guess what book she's using to help her with her Bible study? And I'm like clueless. I'm like, what? She said, your book. I said, what? I was at a June 9th TV event in Bedford. And again, I was giving away books. You know, some people wanted to buy them and I was giving away. I don't even remember this pastor. And she's using the book in her Bible study.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Minister
so guess what I said? So I'm going to do some workshops on the book.
Yes, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Listen, you all have been listening to founder and CEO of Zoe Life that helps people identify and address these challenges, right? She's talking about finding that safe space to process your trauma, emotional pain, breaking free from dysfunctional patterns, things of that nature. You want to go to Zoe, LIFEPLC at gmail.com to get a hold of her. So into her mission because she is doing things free of charge out here, giving away books out here, doing workshops for things. And she is promoting healing and helping women all over the greater Cleveland area, the suburbs of Cleveland. And I just believe that she's going to go further, y'all. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I truly believe that. So your books are available where? How can people get a hold of them one more time?
Email me at Zoe Life, ZOE.LIFE plc@gmail.com. You can messenger me under Christine Harrell on Facebook. You can reach me on IG. You can reach me on LinkedIn. All of those sources for messages, you can reach me on those.
Okay. So before we go, we want to have you give our audience just one more awesome tip, one more incredible thing that we all can do that will keep us in a place of good mental health, good spiritual health, good emotional, and maybe even perhaps physical health that will keep us in that safe place where we are not drawing into isolation and we're not withdrawing, but we're actually surrounding ourselves with the right kinds of people so that we can get the support, so that we can get the encouragement that we need to press on, because life is really hard for a lot of people right now for all the reasons. I mean, 2020, 2021, those are some hard years and people are still recuperating. So what is one other tip that you can give us to leave our audience today that will help us as we transform inwardly?
My one tip I could leave is meditation. It's meditation and journaling. One of the key points, how I really begin to know who I am and know myself, is by sitting with myself with a journal. This is the greatest way to pray, to process, to know God, right? And to know yourself. I wake up in the morning and I grab a journal and I sit with myself any time of day. I sit with myself, particularly if I'm struggling, if I'm emotionally or mentally struggling, if my coping mechanisms are off. Journaling and meditation is your best friend. It really is. So I can sit down and begin to write what I think, write what I feel. No one's judging me. No one's not. And eventually, after I write and get it out, I sit still and I wait for the small, still voice, right? And I will begin to hear God speak or begin to have thoughts and inspiration that I write down afterwards. So sometimes my journaling is prayer. I'm like, Lord, I'm struggling with this anxiety. I'm anxious because, I'm fearful because, I'm angry because. I tell you, and if you get good at writing, a lot of people say, I don't want to do that. It requires you to meditate first. Be quiet, do some breathing exercise, and sit with yourself. And I would tell you, you don't even have to invite God into the presence. If you sit with the mindset to know you and the mindset to know Him, His presence will come because He's waiting on a moment of silence, a moment of meditation. That's the time. And I'm not just talking about getting the scriptures, doing your devotional, reading. I'm talking about being still. Be still and know that I am God. Being still with a journal in front of you. It is the easiest counselor until you can get to one, because I'm able to express what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, where I'm at, what's going on, and then here's the greatest part. This becomes a prayer. One of the things God said to me, I know when you think, I know what you mean when you cry, I know what you mean when you write. I am God. I'm omniscient. I know everything. And so I was journaling one day. I said, now I know you know my tears. I know you know my thoughts from afar. He said, yeah, and I know when you write. I know what you're writing. That blew me away. So meditation and journaling and sitting with yourself to begin that journey saying, what am I feeling? What am I going through? And it gives you that break in the day where you can be still and settle some of your thoughts, particularly racing thoughts, settle some of the emotional stuff. We really don't spend enough time with ourselves. If your 24-hour day is merely moving, going, grinding, taking care of other people, and not sitting for at least 30 minutes with yourself, you're missing on opportunities, divine opportunities to get a chance to know really who you are. And then here's the other part. And then knowing what God sees you and how He sees you. Because if we're still long enough and have this as a practice, You will hear God's small voice in your intuition, in your thought process. And he'll begin to say stuff like, you are the apple of my eye. You are my beloved and I love you. I know the numbers of hairs on your head. You're not an accident. You're not a mistake. You are a masterpiece. You begin to hear those things because now he has my attention. God will never speak over clutter. He will never speak over our busyness. But he will learn, if we learn to discipline ourselves with this practice of meditation and journaling, you'll be able to learn now to hear him in the busyness because that practice has become something that's life-giving, it's life transformation. So I would say it's meditation and journaling.
Powerful. I want to share something that I found because I'm always doing a little digging that you wrote that I think is so inspirational. And it's a soul care coaching moment. You wrote this: our emotions can be like rubber bands. The more we don't regulate them, the more we are stretched beyond our emotional limits and we pop off or break down. The key is self-reflection and self-awareness. We must sit with ourselves and examine, especially the negative stuff, what I am believing, thinking, and feeling, and then why. Pause and contemplate. How do we need to respond? Renewing our thoughts and regulating our emotions are key components to healing, but more importantly is praying. It's easy to skip praying for ourselves and praying for others when we self-abandon ourselves. When we fail to have self-awareness and self-reflection, we pray, encourage, minister, and empower others through our own stuff and not necessarily discerning accurately what others may truly desire or need. Do your work. Soul care is the key to greater intimacy with God. That is powerful. Thank you so much, Minister Christine. Get her book. Y'all get the book. And I encourage you to start the ministry of taking care of yourself and working on the mission of inward transformation. As always, we are so always honored to have you all here at Ministry on Mission. If you have questions for Minister Christine, we want you to head over to our social media at Ministry on Mission everywhere. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Come and find us. Ask your questions. And we are not done with Miss Christine. Oh, no. We are headed over to our YouTube page, right? Ministry on Mission, where we're going to get just a little bit more information. So I'm so excited to have you. Thank you for being our special guest today. It was truly soul searching and transformative, if I may say so. Thank you.
So thank you so much for the opportunity.
So until next time, everyone, we'll see you next time at Ministry on Mission. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you for joining Ministry on Mission TV. On behalf of Drs. Anita Mckaney and Tomesha D. Walker, we invite you to connect in the community and online at Ministry on Mission. Here at Ministry on Mission TV, we equip and encourage women to start their ministry and finish the mission. Remember,
Isaiah 40:3. Prepare on purpose.
Mark 1:3. Let's hear your voice.